Hi y'all, this is House Guest and I am your host, Kenzie Elizabeth. Think a Gen Z wannabe Martha Stewart meets Dolly Parton trying to live in a Nancy Meyers movie in her 20s. We talk all about life, relationships, navigating your 20s, closing out the bars, or waking up at 5 a.m. depending on our vibe that week. Ultimately, living our best lives and figuring it out along the way. So come hang out. Sometimes I have guests on who do really cool things, some of my best friends, or it's just me and my house that I spend way too much time in. So let's get into the show. Hi y'all. Today we are getting down to business. We have Katie Welch on the podcast. She is the CMO of Rare Beauty. I'm asking her all of the tips and life advice for your 20s. We go all over the place. It's not just business. It's not just like corporate talk. We're going all over the place. You know when you're listening to a podcast and it's supposed to be like motivational and it's supposed to like really whoop you into shape and give you good advice, but you leave and you just feel like less than almost, like you feel overwhelmed and it makes you more anxious. This is going to do the complete opposite. It's very empowering and she's very down to earth and very normal. This episode gave me peace, is basically what I'm getting at. And I think you guys are gonna really, really enjoy it. I love Rare Beauty. It is easily my favorite makeup brand. Currently, right now, I'm wearing Rare Beauty Happy Blush. The Look Good Blush has been one of my favorites. The mascara is amazing, foundation's amazing, bronzer stick, everything from them is amazing. So, anyways, without further ado, let's welcome Katie onto the show. If you haven't already, subscribe to our YouTube channel and leave a nice rating and review. We need to talk a little bit about Emo's Pizza because, guys, okay.
For all the St. Louis girlies out there.
All the St. Louis girlies. So we met about 4 minutes ago. We're fast friends. And there's so much I want to get into with you because I feel like you are just such a star. You're such a boss. And I have so many questions. And I'm sure all of the girlies listening have so many questions and like literally want to be you.
Oh my gosh.
Before we get into though, I found out that she's actually from St. Louis, which I am, Kenzie the Texan. I have a Texas tattoo, but I was born in St. Louis. I moved when I was 2. Both my parents are from there. And there is this little chain called Emo's Pizza that is the best pizza I've ever had in my life.
The best.
And we just bonded over this. My whole life, I'm like famously like really not a pizza girl. But the reason I'm not a pizza girl is because I'm an Emo's Pizza girl and like nothing else will compare.
And nothing else tastes like it.
No.
For better or worse. Like it depends on what you prefer. But yeah, it is delicious. I do think you have to be from St. Louis to understand it.
Absolutely. Because we've had people who have tried it later in life and they just don't get it.
They don't get it.
But
they don't like it either.
Good. I don't get them.
I agree.
Even like as we've gotten older, my cousins and I were all like best friends, and Austin's kind of like, I think that we really just hyped it up as kids, and we're all like in denial. I'm like, no, it's actually that good.
No, it's actually that good.
Yeah.
It's the crust. It's the way it's cut. It's the oregano.
Yep.
It's the Provel cheese.
It's the cheese.
It's the cheese.
It is the way it's cut, though. I would agree with that.
Little squares.
Little squares. There's nothing like it. Like if you guys are from St. Louis, you understand. Yeah. But no, I'm really like keeping the Emo's love alive in this family. I'm working hard day and night.
It's good. It's good.
It's
we got to do it. I do the same thing.
Oh my God, I love it so much. Okay, so anyways, you're from St. Louis. You're now the CMO of Rare Beauty. Can you give us a little bit of the
How'd you get there?
between, you're here in St. Louis eating Emo's Pizza to now the CMO of Rare Beauty?
There are many years. It's been a long time since I was in St. Louis eating Emo's Pizza. I wish it was sooner for many reasons. So I thank you. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm so excited to be here. Love your energy. This has been so fun so far. I'm from St. Louis. I went to college in Ohio. I went to a all-girls school in St. Louis, but always loved makeup. Always. I remember going to West County Center and the Galleria and all of the malls in St. Louis and going to the makeup counters and buying so much makeup with like all the money that I made from I worked at the Gap. I worked at St. Louis Bread Company, which is now Panera.
Yeah, I was going to say otherwise known as Panera, but it's really St. Louis Bread Co. If you know, you know.
If you know, you know. Exactly right. Exactly. So I took the money from making sandwiches to then go buy a Chanel lip gloss or whatever. So I've always loved beauty and went to college in Ohio. Didn't know, it was a small liberal arts school. I went to Denison University and I didn't know that beauty was a career path. It's always something I've always loved. Not from a makeup artistry standpoint, but just more of a consumer of it. And I met someone when I was a sophomore at college who was a parent of a friend, and she was an executive at Estee Lauder. And I looked at her and I was like, oh my gosh, that's something you can do? I didn't know. Like there was no one where I grew up that worked for a beauty company. And so from that moment on, literally, I think my it changed in my mind what I wanted to do. I didn't quite know how I was going to get there, but I knew that was it. And so much of that moment, I think, inspires why I do social content, why I started a TikTok account, because I think if you want to get into some of these industries and have a career, have a really great career, they're not necessarily teaching you this in college. And unless you have a network or you see someone, like the way I just literally met this person who had it, you're not going to know this exists. And it really is a wonderful career path. And I'm really passionate about helping women get to the C-suite. And so I thought, okay, maybe there's a way I can do this. And that wasn't your question, but that's sort of how I got onto social. So I graduated from college. My first job was at Macy's. I did the buyer training program, kind of like Rachel at Friends, on Friends, but although it's not like that really, it's very Excel driven, but it was a great foundation to sort of learn retail math, learn the industry. I was an English major in college, so I didn't know anything. So it was great. That was a great foundation, but I realized it wasn't exactly what I wanted to do. From there, I started to learn more about the industry. I really wanted, as we said, I was a beauty fanatic. I wanted to be in cosmetics, but I was actually in the luggage and frames department of Macy's. So I was allocating those to me pieces of luggage and a 5x7 frame. Not glamorous. I kept saying, can I be in cosmetics? And they're like, no. I tried. I really tried to get into cosmetics from Macy's. But eventually, I saw a job opening for Victoria's Secret Beauty, and there was a store communications coordinator. It was the most entry-level positions at the time. I interviewed, thankfully got the job, and that was really the beginning of sort of how I learned about the industry or got into the beauty industry. And from that position, now this was 24 years ago, I was able to see, I think something you look back on, and no matter what your position is, you can see the departments around you. You can start to say, while I wasn't in the marketing department, I wasn't in the PR department, I was in store operations, really, I was able to make contacts, see who I could learn from, who I wanted to, what networking I wanted to do. Because I talked to a lot of early career people in their 20s, and they get frustrated. They're like, but I want a marketing job. I want to be you. You got to start somewhere. You got to get your foot in the door. And so I got my foot in the door. And then from there, instead of being frustrated, I'm sure I was frustrated. It's a job. But instead of focusing on the fact that I wasn't on the path that I wanted to be, I took that opportunity to look around, to understand all the different departments, how they worked, who was in them, what they were doing, how could I build relationships. And so eventually, when a position opened in the PR department, I was able to interview and move over laterally, internally, to start sort of a new path. And then from there, I was really more interfacing with the marketing team. And again, that also was very early days. It was fun. It was the fun days of Victoria's Secret. I did campaigns with Giselle and Adriana Lima and launched the Victoria's Secret Angels fragrances and the pink fragrance.
It's like the most iconic time at Victoria's Secret too. That's so cool.
It was really fun looking back. But I remember, but again, I was an assistant. So I wasn't driving the campaigns, but I was a part of it. And I remember we were working on a mailer, just like what we see all the time with creators now. You see them on TikTok, on Instagram, on YouTube. But at the time, there were no social creators. There were beauty editors. And I remember working on a holiday mailer, and the creative director, and we were stuffing the boxes, basically. And the creative director came over, and I was like, what the heck are we doing? Like, I was putting marabou, which was a fancy kind of feather, in the box. Like, this is the most, I can't believe I went to college for this. Like, so frustrated. But then the creative director came over, and she was inspecting every box that was going out to all of the beauty editors. And I'm like, why does this woman care about this? Like, this is so painful that I'm stuffing these bags, and like the crinkle on the tissue paper. And she was checking, is the tissue paper perfect? But she said to me, because she probably could tell, like, why am I involved? She said to me, Katie, this is a piece of marketing. Like, this is the first instance that this audience is going to see our brand. This is a storytelling initiative. I know that it feels like you're just stuffing boxes with feathers right now, but we got to make sure that it's done the right way, so that the right brand message is communicated, so that the Vogue editor, when Sarah Brown, I believe she was probably the Vogue editor at the time, when Sarah Brown gets this box, she understands this is what Victoria's Secret's all about, or this is what the holiday collection is all about, and we're communicating the right message. And that was really my first instance of, okay, marketing, it's sort of all around us. It's very creative, and every part of the team is important. It's down to the assistant of PR, which I was, all the way up to the executive creative director, that everyone was involved in that look, feel, tone, and manner. And so every job really matters. And so I think that's when I first understood, okay, I'm at the entry level of this company, but it still matters. And so now today when I'm with my team, I try to make sure that everyone understands, like, you're all part of this team that's making this business move forward. It's not about a hierarchy. It's not about one person over the other.
That's great leadership advice.
It's not the answer to your question.
No, this is perfect.
But it made me think of that story of when I was an assistant at NPR, like, because there are moments where your 20s are so hard and no one ever actually says that. And because it's fun, you want it to be fun because you're just out of college, like the world is ahead of you. And you, especially now, I couldn't imagine being in my 20s now because so much is right in your face with social media and there's so much comparison. Someone once told me that they have LinkedIn, like, comparison anxiety because you see, like, oh, my friend has this job and I'm not doing this. Should I be doing this? And there's just so many ways you can start to question everything. And you want everything right away. And I think things feel like they need to be so immediate because you're seeing so much in social. And I guess looking back, all I can say is you'll get there. It all like all of my friends, we have all, if you wanted to stay in a corporate career path and you put the effort in, for the most part, everyone ends up at the same level. It's just there are varying times based on the jobs that you take, based on the path that you take, but eventually you get there. It just requires the work. And I think nobody wants to acknowledge that or hear that part. And the tough part about your 20s is that's when a lot of the work gets put in.
I'm curious, is there something you would say to yourself when you were doing jobs that you felt like weren't really moving the needle, or maybe you felt like they were a little bit beneath you with a college degree packaging these things? At the time, did you have the wherewithal to think like, this is going to get me somewhere?
No.
Okay.
Absolutely not. You have no idea.
Yeah.
And I remember like crying to my mom on the phone, like, why? Oh my God, this job, my boss was mean. You know, there was no glass door.
Yeah.
So no one was reporting, not to sound like, oh, and then we walked 10 miles in the snow barefoot, but it was different. It was a little different. But yeah, you don't know. You don't realize. But I just kind of heads down. And I think it took me, I changed jobs a bunch because I was trying to figure out what I liked. And eventually you got to figure out what you're good at. And then you got to figure out what you like. And you hope that Venn diagram is there. And that's the sweet spot in the middle is what you're going to do. But oftentimes you start out, you don't know what you're going to be good at because you've never done this before. And you also don't know what you're going to like, really. Like you could be a genius with numbers, but no, I really want to do storytelling and marketing because it feels cool or it feels like that's what your friends are all doing. Well, if you're great at numbers, once you get into it and you start sort of finding your flow, you realize, wait, I actually do like this. So I think Professor Scott Galloway, I don't know if you've ever followed him or read his books, he always says it's not about following your passion, it's about really finding out what you're good at, because that's where you're going to succeed. And you can still have your passions in your personal life, of course. That's what makes you a whole human being, and that's what hopefully inspires you to do other things. But just because you're passionate about something doesn't mean that has to be your career path. Your career path, where you're going to find, I think, the most career fulfillment, not personal fulfillment. Those are two different things, are in the path where you're good at. And when you're in your 20s, you're finding that out, and that's why it's so tough, because you have to go through all of these hurdles and these jobs and different bosses and different experiences to really understand where you're going to thrive. And then so I think hopefully by the time you get to your 30s, and again, you don't have to, there is nothing in stone, there's no clock, there's no right or wrong answer. But by the time you get to maybe your mid-30s, you found that stride, and then you can really hone in out, find the right position, find the right mentors, and get to the next level so that when you are in your late 30s or early 40s or mid-40s like myself, you find those positions where you feel like you're really contributing.
I love what you just said there, because I feel like right now, all of the advice in the world is to follow what you're passionate about and make that a career. But I also think it kind of reminds me of like work to live to work. I think it's totally fine if your job is really just allowing you the lifestyle that you want to then follow your passions outside of it. And I think that also gives people a lot of freedom. Yeah. So can you speak a little bit more to that, on how you don't have to be, your job isn't necessarily always your passion?
That's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
And also people don't know what your passion is, and your passion is allowed to change. Like I think I'm very fortunate to work in beauty because I am passionate about it, but I'm passionate about a lot of things. I love to cook. I love to read cookbooks.
Same.
I could just, sorry.
You're going to love the recipe journal that I brought for you today.
Oh my God, I saw it on social today. I'm
Yeah.
actually really excited about it. Thank you. But I'm not going to be a chef.
Same.
No, I can't. I would not survive in the kitchen of a restaurant.
It would suck the passion out of me, actually.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I think, but I do know on Sundays, I have to cook because it's like a meditative thing that I like to do. I like to do meal prep for the week. I like to cook a big Sunday dinner, try a new recipe because it's just something that I love to do for myself. So I think that's the important thing is to figure out what are those things that fuel you. And it doesn't have to be like, I think the other thing is there's a lot of pressure to find your passion. And then there's a lot of pressure to find like this quote unquote perfect job. That doesn't exist either. I love my job. I love Rare Beauty. I love my team members. But my gosh, every day is not perfect. I mean, that would be if I got here and sat in this chair and said, every day is great. I love working every single day. It would be such a lie. That's not human. But I'm super grateful because I love what we've created. I love the people with whom I work. I love that I have the opportunity to do it. But I think it's tough if you're going into your 20s or you're graduating college and you have all of these thoughts about what you should do. You can't should yourself. You can't should your career.
I think what you said about how no job is perfect and people are trying to find this like perfect career path, perfect job. I hear that a lot just within like my friends and peers complaining about, I feel like anytime you're in a group of people, obviously people are imperfect, you're going to have imperfect situations, obviously.
Yeah.
But I do think that something about Gen Z is as we're making a lot of like positive strides in certain ways, I do think we're expecting perfection out of a lot of things, specifically with groups of people, and it's just not possible. So I do think it's important to say, obviously not in the sense of like there's abuse happening, but just like a day to day, not everything is perfect. You're going to have conflict. You're going to have, and I'm fearful that we're like getting to a point where like the second there's like some sort of conflict, some sort of error, it's like, all right, we're all done and this is canceled. You know what I mean?
Yes. I think there's a few things. I think I personally have learned so much from Gen Z and their questions to me about work, and I get a lot of questions about work-life balance and how I find it. And I have to say, and a lot of like boundary questions, and there are questions that I don't think I would have even asked when I was in my 20s because I didn't even know. Those conversations weren't even happening. So I'm glad that they're asking, and I'm glad that these things are happening, that Gen Z is coming to the table and saying, no, you know what? I want to be able to have my weekend. You should have your weekend. I try not to email my team late at night on the weekends because you need to rest, you need to recover. But of course, work ebbs and flows, and sometimes maybe we have to work on a Saturday, or there's something I had an 8 a.m. conference call this morning, and so I was finishing the presentation at like 7 o'clock this morning, but it's not like that every single day. And so I think it's finding the happy medium. And I think it's important for all managers, team members, up, down to the sides, any level, to understand all sides, understand that days aren't perfect, understand that honestly, days aren't perfect. So your boss needs to know things aren't always going to be perfect, but they need to be able to then explain to your team or you why, or give you why we're working on this, or honestly, why things are so stressful, why it's so hard, because everyone has a boss. First of all, management is the hardest thing to do. And that's my biggest management tip, is just making sure that your team understands their deliverable and understand what's going on. So if someone is stressed for a certain reason, and hopefully they don't react in a negative way, but that they tell you why, so that you can understand, okay, we're trying to hit XYZ goal. All right, I get it. I understand why they're so stressed out or why they may have reacted a certain way. Again, not that some reactions are right, but it always helped me to try and put myself in other people's shoes to try and see that.
Yeah, some context.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. But I'm glad that people are speaking up and asking questions. And, you wonder when people are in, like when you get promoted up and then into the managerial role or to a leadership role, then how you will act when you have those same deliverables or pressures put on you. Mm-hmm. I just wonder.
Something that I think is cool about the time and age that we're in is that there before you really needed a one-on-one mentor that you knew personally, and you were probably never going to be in the same room as them, ever meet them, be in the same state, same country for that matter. And now we have access to so many people who are so far along in their careers, whether it's you on TikTok, which is so helpful, podcasts, different books. Like, we have never had so much access to different leaders to learn from. So do you have specific people that you look to that maybe are a mentor to you personally or from far away, or books and podcast recs for anyone listening that is wanting to grow in their career?
Yeah, I love that. I totally agree with you. And I think I always say that you have to be an active participant in your career. Like, your career is not going to just happen to you. You have to go after it. You have to, don't let your jaw clench up or like let your shoulders raise, like thinking like, oh God, I haven't done anything. Am I behind? What's good is that there's just a lot to observe and to take it in. So when I say active participant, I mean the person it could be a peer mentor, the person who you're working alongside. Not only could they become a great work friend who you could rely on for the rest of your career, but you never know where they could go to their next job or from how you could learn from them. You never know who in your company could be a mentor. So just like really pay attention and build those relationships and make those connections. And then as far as what's so exciting, up to exactly what you said, the podcasts that are out there. Not everyone is on TikTok. I wish more people were, and that's something that I want to work on. But there are a lot of ways to track people. And I say, like, put Google alerts on executives that you love. I do.
That's such a good tip.
Because I don't want to miss if they're in an article, or if they're like, there's no chance you're going to see everything. So you may as well say like, oh my gosh, I'm so happy to read this advice or what they're working on, or if they change companies. I think that is a really great idea, because the mentorship is sort of all around you, but it's up to you to seek it out. Nothing is spoon-fed. Everyone is so busy because it's just busy. You ask anyone and they're busy. So you want to be able to find mentors and people who think of you, but they're going to think of you if you can build that relationship with them. And if you don't have that opportunity, there's ways that you can seek it out. And there's ways that you can find a job that's maybe not exactly what you wanted, but maybe it's on the path because it's either the role is what you wanted, but the company isn't, or vice versa. The company could be what you're looking for and the role isn't. If you're not active, if you're just assuming that things are going to happen, they won't.
Do you have any like podcast or book recs?
As far as the people, so there's a woman, Angela Ahrens. She is my ultimate girl crush. One day I'm going to meet her. She was the head of retail at Apple. She was a CEO at Burberry. She's just
a boss,
a brilliant woman that so I always read everything that she's done. Melody Hobson, I love. Well, Gail Hyman, who's the global CEO of Weber Shandwick, she was someone who, whether she knows it or not, taught me a ton in my career, taught me how to think. Back to that sort of being an active participant in your career. For many years, I worked at a PR agency, Weber Shandwick, and we worked with really large clients like Unilever, Sonos, Amazon, Chobani. And I would be in meetings with her. Now, I wasn't reporting into her. I was very junior, but I would watch her and you'd watch how she thinks. And I would watch how she would be in these client meetings and how she would talk to the client or tackle the brand problems or the brand messaging strategy or the big ideas that we were coming up with. And I'd watch her and I'd watch how she'd think. And it's another instance of, you're in these meetings, even as an assistant, hopefully you're in meetings where you can pay attention to people around you. And you can very easily be on your phone, on Instagram, on TikTok, scrolling or looking at your email and not paying attention to what people are saying. But you have an opportunity. You have these executives right in front of you. Whether you agree with what they're saying or not, it's an opportunity to learn. And I think taking those opportunities to learn as much as possible are so important because it kind of is on-the-job training. I never got my MBA. I don't have a degree in marketing. I don't have maybe I need one. I don't know. I just really paid attention to everyone and I would ask them questions. I was never scared to ask questions or to speak up and to have them see how I think as well. And that's the hardest part, but yet also the easiest, showing up.
When you say like you learn how she thought.
Yeah.
Can you kind of take us through that?
What does that mean?
Yeah, like what does that mean?
Like if we're working on this is very specific to the industry, but let's say we're working on a new business pitch for one of Weber Shandwick's clients. Let's say it was a big retailer, like a Target or a Walmart or something. And so you'd be in these meetings where you'd go through, okay, this is what the deliverable is. This is what the the RFP, the request for proposal is asking for. Here's what their business problem is. And as we would collectively as a team work on this plan together, she would write the slides or write the plan. And I would watch her present, watch her come up with the ideas. It literally is just paying attention to someone. You can learn a lot from someone by seeing how do they speak up in a meeting? What are the questions they ask? Why are they asking that question? What is their solution or their idea to anything? And I was talking to it's hard to answer your question exactly because it's so specific to the person and the industry. But I think so the executives that you'll be in meetings with, whatever your industry is, they're going to be presenting or talking about something, and hopefully from that you'll understand the context of what they're talking about. Whatever problem they're trying to solve, whatever their deliverable is, you just have to pay attention. If you don't understand, then ask your boss to clarify. And I think people, or ask them directly. People love to talk about themselves.
Yes, that is so true.
Like, get them to how did you know to tackle that problem that way? Why did you think that was the right idea? Ask them. And then you'll build a relationship with your boss. Like, set out to ask an executive a question once a week for the next year. That's 52 questions answered. That's 52 opportunities to build a relationship with an executive in your company that then they will remember you. And they'll be like, oh my God, Kenzie's so smart. I love that she asked that question. People love to talk about themselves and they love to feel seen.
Yes. So when you're asking questions like that because you're noticing something about them, it's just great. Like, they're loving that.
And here's the other thing. You don't have to agree with them. Just because you also have to build your own critical thinking. And they might say, oh, we want to tackle this problem by doing these 3 things. And you might think, all right, that's interesting that you want to do these 3 things, but have you thought about 4, 5, and 6? And that's building your own critical thinking. That's developing your mindset. That's developing your ability to sort of grow within your career. And your boss, no, it's not, some may, some may not, want to hear your point of view. Why not develop that? Like, it's such a good opportunity. I think just not being afraid to ask questions of your executives is such a good opportunity to learn and to build relationships with people.
It's a good way to like flex that muscle too.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So much is just don't be scared, and hopefully you work in an environment where you can ask those questions.
Yeah. I think that's great. I want to ask you so many marketing questions.
Okay.
Let's start with social. Do you think there is a social platform or a way of social media marketing that is being underused right now?
Maybe Snap.
Here's the thing. I'm off Snap.
And
I know it's
Substack,
a big thing.
I'm sort of personally obsessed with.
Okay, can you go into both of those?
I would like to start my own Substack. But I think Substack is really interesting. It's I went to an event with them recently, and I've had some friends who are Substackers. It's more fashion that I've found, or they're either marketing Substackers or fashion and sort of shopping lifestyle Substackers. Some news, some cooking. There's a handful of great cooking ones too. You should do one as well.
Yeah. So is it just like a blog?
Honestly, kind of.
Okay.
It's like a blog with a great email newsletter.
Attached to it.
Ability. So it sends as an email. There's a wonderful app that you can just like follow. So I actually don't get the emails in my inbox anymore. I just use the Substack app, and that's so you can read all of the everyone who you follow in the app. And then also there's a big community component. So you can, all of your followers, or if they decide to follow the chat function, it's like a group chat function for all of your followers. Amazing. So that, like, people in the chats of Substack are really active.
Okay, cool.
I love it.
Very interesting. What about Snapchat? Because I'm not on Snapchat, so I don't even see anything.
I know. I think it's been hard for brands to crack. I guess maybe for advertising as you're scrolling, just to have great creative that shows up in the scrolling. But I would love to figure out how to crack that, because so much of Rare Beauty is about connection and community. And it feels like everyone is using Snap to connect.
Yeah.
Through messaging. But I don't know how a brand shows up there in an authentic way. So that's just an interesting one. Underutilized is probably, because we certainly use Meta, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok a lot.
What platform has the greatest ROI?
Probably Instagram and TikTok.
Yeah. Fair. TikTok Shop has been really beneficial for, like, I have a home brand.
Yeah.
And I know people like hate TikTok Shop, like the consumers. I try to I don't feel like any of the content that we've made is very pushy or annoying. I don't feel like it's like what you think of when you think TikTok Shop. It's like this, and it's like yellow flashing like really in your face. I don't feel that way about ours, but it's really, honestly, I mean, we only launched like 6 months ago, and it's really like changed the business because it's TikTok's like pushing them, but it's been really helpful. But I was like, maybe I should be on Pinterest, like doing more stuff because
Pinterest.
You know?
Shoot. Yes, I forgot. I would love to figure out Pinterest too. I hope the Pinterest team isn't listening.
Yeah. No, I love Pinterest as a consumer.
I was just on Pinterest this morning. Oh man, there's so many things. The list never ends.
I know.
That's why you just have to at some point like shut your computer. That's why I appreciate, I'm not going to grossly generalize, but I guess I am by saying this, but a Gen Z sentiment of having boundaries, having a great work-life balance, because truly just in this conversation, we just thought through all these different social apps. My gosh, the list is never done. Mm-hmm. It's never done. So the more that you can help your team on their being clear on their deliverables and then setting realistic expectations, you should be able to have a detox on the weekends. My goodness.
Yeah, I think that's really important because for me personally, like I need time to recharge. And then if I'm like running myself into the ground, my work ends up being horrible anyways.
Yeah.
So then I end up having to fix it and redo it. And I end up losing more time. And if I would have just taken time for myself, like I would have actually saved time in the long run.
100%. Do not scroll until 2 a.m. or midnight. Like you have to sleep. That's my biggest thing. I have to go to sleep. Otherwise, I'm a wreck the next day and I can't accomplish everything that we need to accomplish.
Absolutely. What are some like practical boundaries you have in your life?
I really try not to look at email late at night because not only, and again, to each their own, whatever you need to do to get your emails done or get your work done, but I will start to get worked up and then you'll think about it and then I won't get a good night's sleep. So everything I can do, like starting at least 9 o'clock to then get to bed by 10 o'clock. And I know it's not perfect. Like you go out to dinner and then you don't, but it really helps. It just helps if you get to bed by 10 and then wake up and I have to get some sort of movement in the morning, usually just a walk. I'll do maybe a more aggressive workout on the weekend.
Do you have a set morning routine? Okay, let's go detailed into, I love a morning routine. Let's get detailed into your routines.
Okay. Wake up. I try, man, I would love to say, and I don't look at my phone. No, I mean, I look at it first thing. But I did, you know what I tried? One of those apps that keeps you from looking at it locks your social from certain hours. So I had it from like 6 to 8, no Instagram, no TikTok. And that was great. But then I figured out how to unlock it and I haven't put it back on. So I really try not to, and then you're like, well, I could just unlock it. Yeah. So nobody's perfect again.
No, I'm like, I'm not the Pope. All right. I'm sorry.
No, you're like, I'm curious. So I'll try not to scroll for over too much, but I'll do a quick, like, okay, nothing is on fire, nothing, no emergencies, no family emergencies, no friends emergencies. So I'll check everything, get up, take the dog out, make coffee, and then usually go on a walk. I'm fortunate to live near the beach. So I go on a beach walk for about 30 minutes to an hour. Sometimes I listen to something. I'm in the car a lot. So I do all my podcast listening in the car, but we don't allow ourselves times to let our brains wander because there's so many things to do, because there's so much media and content to consume, that I try on that walk to either listen to some like binaural beats or subliminal something and just like not pay attention to, and let my mind think about the day. And then when I come back, either finish the coffee, make a little breakfast, shower, get ready. So it's not a crazy morning routine. It's pretty basic, but I stick to it. And I have noticed that if I don't get outside and walk, the day is not as good. But everyone's got to find your own thing. Like, I'm not saying like that's for me. And it really does make a difference.
My morning routine like helps me so much. If I'm off my it makes the biggest difference in my day.
The biggest thing that actually makes a difference for me is Sunday.
Yeah, that's fair.
I have to set up for the week. I've got to look at like
Let's
every day.
Let's go into your Sunday routine. I want the whole thing.
So Sunday is meal prep for the week.
And are you meal prepping every meal?
Pretty much.
Okay.
So I like to make the meetings. I have a lot of meetings. We're very every corporate company, a lot of meetings. So when I walk into the office at 9:30, whatever it is, the meetings don't end until 5 or 6. I won't eat lunch, and I don't want to not eat lunch. Then I'll be hangry and not smart, and I don't want to eat snack. We have a wonderful snack wall, but I don't want to subsist on snacks. So I just meal prep salads and stuff for the week so that I can just grab it and go. So I'll meal prep a kale salad with chicken and all sorts of good stuff. Make a salad dressing. I love making salad dressings. And then probably do like a chia seed pudding for breakfast in the morning. So I have a bunch of mason jars. So everything is to make my life easier.
Yeah.
So it's like a grab and go chia seed pudding, grab and go salad. And then I'll make some sort of, I don't know, like some salmon or a chicken or a soup, or like yesterday, what is today? Sunday, I made turkey chili. So I have turkey chili
turkey chili
when I come home, so that when I come home, I can make a quick salad or just eat that on the couch, because I am just zonked by the end of the day. So Sunday is organizing all that, taking a look at my calendar, what's coming up, what do I have to do, trying to look at emails, not expecting anyone to respond, and just sort of getting the week in order. But there have been times when I don't do that, and I do feel like clean, making sure thinking about what I want to wear, all this silly stuff. But it's like, I just try to minimize the decision making during the week.
Mm-hmm. I was just going to say, I feel like it's a lot of just like decisions being made on Sunday, so you don't have to think throughout.
Yeah. Because they're silly things. And like, and if I don't do it, it's fine. I try to really work out. Like, I've been doing this class called Boonda.
Oh, I know.
Have you tried it?
I haven't, but I know what you're talking about.
So I really like it. And so I do that on Saturday and Sunday. And I'm no athlete. I'm not in perfect shape, but it's been fun. Mm-hmm. And it's like a nice community, and my girlfriends go. And so I'm able to see friends and stuff. So I'll work out, do all this meal prep.
Yeah, that is like actually so much fun.
Yeah.
I love Rare Beauty. Something that I say about Rare that I feel like is unique to Rare. In the makeup industry, you think about certain brands, like you think Anastasia Brow, you think Benefit, and it used to be the blushes, like whatever it is at that time, mascaras. But with Rare, it's like the one makeup brand that every single product, I could do a full face of Rare and it would still be my favorite products.
Thank you.
But I don't feel that way about other brands. Like, you have like your stuff that you pick and choose from each brand. But Rare, every single thing I love. Like, I'm wearing the bronzer stick. I normally am wearing Happy Blush. I just don't have any right now. Like, I love everything from Rare.
Thanks.
What is it about you guys that just makes everything so much better? Like, it's crazy.
Thank you. That's really kind of you to say. I personally feel the same way, but certainly it's really nice to hear from anyone else. Our head of product development and Selena work really, really well together.
Clearly,
yeah.
It shows.
So Selena will have an inspiration or an idea, and then Joyce, who is our chief product development officer, will say like, okay, well, what if we do this? And they'll come up with something together, and it just has worked, knock on wood.
Yeah, it's just so good. I love it.
Thank you.
What is your favorite part of marketing? Like the whole process? Like take us through, let's say you're launching a new blush. Okay. Take us through like concept process. Like what are you doing?
Yeah. My favorite part is working on the strategy and the storytelling and figuring out how we're going to deliver those messages. And that's a mix of brand and product marketing. So product marketing, so much of it is positioning. So then, okay, Selena and Joyce wanted to create this product, and Selena wanted to say for the latest Soft Pinch Luminous powder blushes, Sel wanted to have the highlighter and the blush almost combined, because like you could use the liquid and the two liquids, or if you had a powder version of it. So she said that to Joyce. And then she's like, but I didn't want it to be like super, super highly highlighted. Like, how do you do it in like a really natural, beautiful way? I don't know if natural is the right word, but in a really beautiful, almost different way. So something different than what's out there. And then Joyce was tasked with that. And so it's, the first part is looking at the product and the point of difference and what you're trying to communicate and how do you bring that to life. And then so you come up with those product points of difference and you come up with it within the positioning. And then from there, you brief in the creative team. You say, okay, here's the product. This is what we want to tell. This is the story we want to tell. How are we going to do this? And then the creative director will come back and say, okay, what if we do, what if maybe Selena would want to be doing this sort of shoot? And then you come up with a key visual, and then Selena will have feedback like, okay, but I really think we should do it this way. And then so we have a great conversation around that. And then from there, so then we have this suite of assets and a key visual, and we shoot the stills of the product, and we shoot with models and a bunch of different skin tones so that the product is easily shoppable. Then from there, then you've got all these suite of assets. You know what the point of difference of the product is. Then you say, okay, how are we going to go to market? What's our campaign? And then that's, I think, when is really fun is sort of coming up with what that story is going to be, how it rolls out on social. Do you do any sort of consumer activations, meaning like big events with our community? Do you have out of home, like what are your media channels? Then it's really figuring out how it comes to life. No two campaigns are the same. and nor should they be, because no two products are the same. So you need to really think through, how does the message meet the medium meet the message, so when you are doing something creative and that storytelling. And so it's diving in that and then listen, and it's not my ideas always. What I love is briefing in our team and having them come up with the different ideas. And then together we work on, okay, this makes the most sense. This is how we're bringing this to life. We just launched a campaign. It actually doesn't have anything to do with product, but it's for Rare Impact. So for the Rare Impact is the part of the business that works to make a difference within mental health. And May is Mental Health Month. And so we launched something called Make a Good Call. And the insight that was driving it was that we have our phones with us all day, but no one's actually ever using it for what a phone is intended for, to make a phone call and hear a voice. And then we came across studies that show that hearing a friendly voice or a comforting voice can be more of a mood booster than getting a text message. So we thought, that's interesting. So we came up with this campaign, Make a Good Call. And if you call 877-HEY-RARE for the month of May, so I don't know when this airs, but you'll get a positive message from any member of the Rare Beauty team. So we all recorded we call them Rare Reminders. They're short messages of positive sentiment, affirmations. So Selena recorded a bunch. She recorded the intro, and then we all recorded something. So you call this number, and you can get a mood boost.
That's so cool.
Which I loved. So that also. So we're doing great product marketing campaigns, like for the Soft Pinch Luminous Powder Blush, or for the launch of our Find Comfort collection. 2 totally different collections, 2 totally different campaigns, all the way to something like Make a Good Call, which was all around mental health. So I love doing all of that, all the storytelling and the creativity.
Do you have a favorite campaign you've been a part of just over the years?
For any company?
Any company.
A long time ago. This is like 2007. I was at a PR agency that worked very closely with Burt's Bees, and was when Burt's Bees was launching their natural, like they were one of the first companies to come out with natural messaging versus I guess there's no regulation of organic. There was no. It was pre-clean. No one even knew what clean was. But they were coming out. They were launching a label that said like 97% natural, made with 97% natural ingredients, or 100% natural ingredients. And so we worked on this entire campaign for the natural standard, and it was working with a bunch of different other natural brands. Burt's Bees was sort of this one who galvanized all these other brands. So they were the thought leader. And it was really exciting at the time. It was the first time I saw brand messaging and sort of honestly a PR campaign make such a difference in a business and move a business forward. Because from that point on, Burt's Bees was sort of seen as lip balm brand to a force within the beauty industry. And that was sort of one of the tipping points that helped drive it forward. And I was like, wow. And that was the first time I really saw how I was on the agency, I was on an agency, but working alongside other agencies. So that interagency team, how that one message came to life across all marketing channels, how that one message drove that business forward, made such a difference in the life of the brand. I think that was it was a tipping point of my career to learn. And then not only did I learn, but the person who was the chief marketing officer of Burt's Bees at the time, now I didn't work for him. I worked for the agency that worked for him, but he saw, I guess, the way I I presented ideas, what we came up with, that when he then became the president of Bliss in 2010, he called me to help spearhead run marketing communications for Bliss. So when you're in these rooms with people, you never know where the opportunities are going to come from. You never know who could be paying attention. So really to show up and try to be your best, not to put too much pressure on yourself, but to just try to do the best that you can every day. You never know where it could pay off.
I love how much you mentioned, like, don't put too much pressure on yourself.
Because it is a lot of pressure.
Yeah, it is.
And a lot of it is we do to ourselves.
Totally.
Exactly.
Especially in your 20s, I feel like it feels like you need to do everything all at once.
Yeah.
Even though obviously that isn't true, but it can feel that way when you're on social media. What advice would you give to someone who's in their 20s and really wants this big career and wants to find, career and success and fulfillment and like go the whole 9 yards, but also wants to keep their sanity?
Great question.
You're like, I'll let you know.
Yeah, I gotta let you know. Like everything, it's being aware and thinking and being cognizant. I have a team member who I think she does a really wonderful job at this. She is very organized. She makes the most out of her day. It's a balance of that, like really maximizing the time that you have. I can't stress how important it is to maximize the time you have during the workday. And I think it's very important to have work friends. I'm a huge believer in that because I think if you have a bestie at work, you're going to want to go to work more. You're going to have someone to whom you can turn. Like having work friends and building relationships at work are very important. But sitting around and gossiping and water cooler chat or whatever, like wasting time, it's very easy to do. But that I think is not a downfall, but man, that could be a trap that you could fall into. It's a slippery slope. And it's such an easy thing to not do, but it's such an easy thing to do that I observe people and I see like who's then having to work late at night or work from the weekends. And like, don't do that. It's not worth it. Just get your work done. Just be really smart about your 8-hour workday. To grow in your career, you have to show up, do the work, let people know that you're doing the work, and build relationships. So if you do that the right way, meaning not through like gossip, but like letting people see who you are, how smart you are, how you think, every opportunity will be there for you. You kind of have to put yourself in front of people though. And you do that by showing up to work every day. That's why I struggle with working from home. I love it. Don't get me wrong. Like I am more productive when I'm working from home, certainly because I know what I have to get done. I've been doing it for 25 years. But if you're brand new, and I get why you want to work remote, like I get it. It's so much easier. But you're missing on a lot of opportunities if you want to have a long corporate career where you can meet other people, you can learn from others, you can learn from your peers, you can learn from those above, below, whomever. You can learn from anyone, but you can build those relationships. You can be seen so that you're thought of for opportunities. You just want to be thought of for opportunities too.
That's fair.
So I think just maximizing your day so that you can have those boundaries. Because at the end of it, you have to deliver the work. Like it's still a job. Now, if it's an unfair amount, you feel like you really can't do it, you've maximized your day, you got to talk to your boss and say something like, listen, let's help me prioritize, help me be clear on the deliverables, help me figure out a way to get this done faster. But there's going to be hard jobs and there's going to be easier jobs.
It's kind of just like be where you're at, I feel like.
Yeah.
Utilizing your time to
Utilizing
the best of your ability.
your time. Yes, absolutely. And, there will be a time when it's time to quit and move on to the next job.
Yeah.
Or not. Or I have friends who have stayed in the same company for 10 plus years and they have had wonderful, fulfilling careers and they've been promoted. But I think what you need to then look around and say, okay, am I growing? Have I gotten the most out of this job? Meaning, like, have I learned everything I could? Have I contributed? Have I been able to say, can I point to something on my resume and say I accomplished these things? And have I given? Like, have I really made a difference in this company? And listen, I think you say make a difference doesn't need to be this big, like it can be stuffing the gift bags of marabou feathers for Victoria's Secret PR to go out to Vogue magazine. Because you know what? Then you can say, I understand the 200 people that it needed to go out to and how it delivered. And this was the holiday event. And this is why marabou feathers were important. I don't know if that makes sense.
No, that was great. Do you know what Enneagram you are? Like, do you know what that is?
Oh gosh. It's like a 3.
Yeah, I figured. I'm a 3 too.
3 something. I don't remember the rest.
Also wing 2. So it's 3 is the achiever.
Yeah.
And then a 2 is a supporter. 4 is a creative. So you're like typically like a wing of either a 2 or a 4. But I'm asking, you're the perfect person to ask. So I'm an Enneagram 3 and most of my female friendships, most of my like girlfriends are Enneagram 3s.
Okay.
And most of the people who I work with are as well. And we talk about this a lot of the idea of feeling like you're never doing enough, you're never achieving enough, you're never like successful enough. And I'm just wondering, is there ever a time?
Does it ever chill?
Do the voices ever stop? 1. And then 2, how can we combat that? Especially being so young in our careers and being so in it, where we really still, we have a huge gap between where we are and where we want to be. So like, what can we do?
I still have those thoughts.
It's weirdly comforting.
But I really try to check myself a lot. Gosh, I don't have an answer. I think it's human.
Yeah.
You're just human.
It's just naturally gonna.
Yeah, but the more you can show yourself that you take the time to give yourself some grace that you are achieving. Look at how far you've come. Just getting the job is a success. Almost like start to celebrate your wins every week. Maybe when you incorporate that into your Sunday routine of like, oh my God, look at what I achieved this week. And achievements can be small, but you still did them and you showed up. And maybe it's as small as like, oh my gosh, I asked my boss a question, or I got feedback on something, or maybe I got bad feedback, but you know what? That's actually a good thing because I could grow. Or my boss wasn't so great, but you know what? Now I learned how to be a better boss. And so I think if you start to think about maybe breaking down your achievements into smaller things so that it doesn't seem so daunting, but it is actually that you are growing, because you are growing. You're growing so much every single day, but because of maybe social, or because of what you see, or because of comparison, you feel like it has to be these big, big things. Almost put like an action plan together, but a loose one. And a loose one of like, okay, this is where I want to be in 20 years, not 2 years. But if I want my life to look like, so if you're 22, what do you want it to look like by the time you're 42? It's going to change, of course, because that's life. But just start to think about the things and slow down. I think we're so busy and you're so in the mix and in the moment of like, okay, wait, I need to do this for my job. I got to post this TikTok. I have to do this Instagram. I got to go out with my girlfriends. I got to run, do a boon to class. I have to do all of these things. Maybe just dedicate an afternoon to think about, and it's not even vision boarding. It's sort of like, what do I want my life to look like? Do I want to be in a C-suite position? Do I want a VP position? Maybe they're both the same. Okay, but I think it's more just deciding, okay, I want to grow within corporate, or I want to be an entrepreneur, or I want to, and then from there, start to work back. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. And it's like when you start to think about it over 20 years, maybe it's less stressful in that, okay, I don't have to do all this stuff by next month.
I think that's really helpful. I love the idea of celebrating your wins. I am not great at it, but I've gotten better in the past. I started on YouTube 10 years ago. So in the past 10 years, like I've definitely gotten.
Oh my gosh, you've done so much.
I've gotten a lot better at just like celebrating the small wins.
Yeah.
And that's something even just like as a leader and a boss that I want to be better about, is like celebrating it as a team and just instead of being so go, go, go and kind of taking a step back. But I think even you saying like you have 20 years, like life is short, but life is long. You have a lot of time to do things. I'm like speaking to myself.
Yes.
And sometimes it's just easy, even in the culture of like Forbes 30 under 30 and like just social media as a whole and TikTok. And I think TikTok has made it a lot harder just because a lot of people did find like overnight success just through the app.
Yeah.
They are the 0.001%. There's so many other people who have not, but it's easy to look at them and then compare yourself.
Yeah.
So I think that's like really helpful advice.
Honestly, it's something I wish I had done. I think I thought about my career, but think about your whole life. What do you want your personal life to look like? I mean, thinking about work-life balance, think about that with the 20-year plus filter. Like it's everything. And then so because of that too, maybe that will determine a different career path or not. Maybe it doesn't need to.
I always
but
talk
it's just
about
stopping to think. And because we don't do that.
No, I always talk about how hobbies were like the best thing I ever did for myself because I like created a life outside of work and not just like going and eating and drinking with my friends. Yeah. Like I have other things that I do. And granted, I've monetized a lot of the hobbies, but like it really does give you, I just think your life, for me, like life outside of work is like equally as important, if not more important. So I want to create a full life and not just a life working, because if I'm only working, I'm going to be miserable. Yeah. And even though I love what I do, like I won't really have anything to bring to the table, especially when I like share so much online. Like I will have nothing to talk about, you know? So I do really like that. And I like how you talk so much about like life outside and having your own time. I think
I honestly, it's stuff that I've had to learn because I did. Like I remember once someone said to me, like I wanted to, it was before TikTok, before I started my TikTok. I'm like, maybe I'll do social and I'll create content and share like work-life balance stuff. And this person was like, well, you don't have work-life balance. You can't do that. You're not an expert in that. And I was like, first of all, that is so mean. People will say such mean things to you, but a little eye-opening. So I do think, like looking back, I think I was so focused in my 30s, but no regrets. I feel fine now, but it did, work is hard.
Totally. And sometimes you just have different priorities at different times.
Totally.
It's not always going to be like this perfect balance.
That's exactly right. And I think my 20s were super fun. I really worked in my 30s and my early 40s, and now who knows what the rest of my life will bring. And I think that's why it's so tough to compare yourself to someone else, because everyone is, as cheesy as it's to say, we're all on our own path. Everyone's on their own path. There's no such thing as a linear path, and there's no such thing as like a duplicate path. So it's really what is meant to be for you. But I think what I have definitely learned, if you don't lift your head up, it will pass you by. Life will pass you by.
That's very true. last question I have for you.
Yes.
If you could only give one piece of career advice to someone in their 20s, what would it be?
Be sure to think. Don't forget to think. Think about your job. Think about what you're doing during the day, why you're doing it. Not why you're doing it of like, why am I at this job? But why are you doing it to learn about the industry, just to keep learning, be a sponge. And then think about your future. Think about your future. Think about your day.
I love
Keep
that.
learning.
That's great. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Welcome. Thank you for having me.
This is fabulous. I think this is the most comforting, like, inspirational episode.
Really?
Yeah, because
I just got chills. That's so nice.
It's great for like career advice, but sometimes I feel like when it's career, people are like really, there's a way to be warm and also be like decisive and driven. And then, you know what I'm saying? When people are like so in your face and you're like, oh my God, like it makes you feel inferior. I feel like this was empowering.
Oh, thanks.
So thank you for coming.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate you having me. It was a really fun conversation.
So where can they find you?
At Katie Welch on TikTok or Instagram or LinkedIn. Trying to do more on LinkedIn. And then hopefully, okay, this is my idea for Substack.
Okay. Oh yeah, this is exciting.
If you guys like this idea, if everyone likes this idea. So it's called Informal Meeting, and it's informal conversations with formal people, quote unquote.
I love this.
So because I get a lot of the same questions around career, but I only have one set of answers. I've only had one experience. And I have friends who are in great positions because we've just grown up together, but they're not going to do a TikTok. They don't want to do a TikTok. So I can interview them or ask some questions and then have the Substack of either me talking about certain topics or them talking about certain topics. So that's what I would like to launch.
Amazing. Okay, well, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you. Thank you.